Welcome back to the next part of my Alliance leveling guide for 1 to 60. We left off landing in Stormwind at level 20, hopefully having completed the Dead Mines. That means you should either have Smite's Hammer or the Staff of Westfall. So firstly, make sure you've accepted the unsent letter quest that dropped from Van Cleef and head to the warrior trainer in southern Old Town. And while you're training your level 20 class skills, do not forget to accept the level 20 warrior class quest. We won't be doing it just yet, but we want to have it in our quest log so we don't have to come back here later. So Retaliate is a pretty big cooldown as a warrior and will enable us to solo some quests that otherwise wouldn't be possible, including one coming up pretty soon. This is why it's important we hit level 20 for the next part of this guide. And throughout this guide I will indicate whenever I can when a quest is coming up soon that will require the use of Retaliate's cooldown to complete it solo. Next we are going to head north to the Dwarven district and into the tavern where we will be turning in the Dead Mines quests, collecting memories and Oh Brother. And further north you'll find Shoni and turn in the quest Underground Assault. Just northeast of Shoni, while you're here, you can pop by the engineering vendor outside the tent to see if he has a bronze tube, if you didn't get one yet. Keep in mind his location if it's not available, and check him again next time we come back to Stormwind. However, I got lucky and got one on my first try here. So the next stop is going to be the Cathedral District, heading back across the canals and into the eastmost entrance and head into the house where we accepted the Humble Beginnings quest to turn it in, and also turn in the Unsent Letter quest and accept the follow-up quest Basil Thread. Now at this time you should have wool bandages learned. If you haven't and have 80 first aid, you can head into the cathedral in the room on the right to train it. If you cannot train wool bandages, you are way behind on first aid though, and you need to actively correct this. Next, we'll run to the stockades on the southwest side of the Stormwind Canals to turn in the quest Basil Thread. We do not need to accept the follow-up at this time, however. With that, we are done with Stormwind, and it's time for us to head back to Menethil Harbor. Note that if you didn't get a bronze tube yet, you can take a pit stop at Ironforge and head into Tinkertown and look for the engineering vendor there to buy a bronze tube. Ironforge is also a good place to train cooking and first aid and herbalism to get it up to the next levels if you haven't already. During these next few areas, you want to make sure you have the clam meat cooking recipes learned at 50 cooking. This next section of the leveling guide from 20 to 30 is going to crunch on cooking a bit. Honestly, it's the only hard area of leveling cooking. It relies completely on clam meat, using 2 clam meat recipes. Luckily, we will be killing a lot of murlocs in the next few areas along the way, so if you are lucky, you won't have to do extra farming. But don't be shy about slaughtering murlocs and crabs for clam meat collection in the next few sections of the guide. Now when you land in Menethil Harbor, you can head into the main keep and visit the engineering vendor on the first floor to check for another bronze tube. Otherwise, let's hop on the northern boat and go to Aubertine. When you arrive in Aubertine, run down the pier and let's do some quest collection. Woo! Start by going into the tavern and making Aubertine your new home for your Hearthstone. Then grab the quest Cave Mushrooms right outside. North across the bridge, get the quest The Absent-Minded Prospector from the female dwarf. Then in the main building, accept the quest The Blackwood Corrupted. Then lastly, go over the eastern bridge and we'll take the quests Tharnarian's Hope, A Lost Master, and go up the building to grab the Tower of Alfalk. Then run back south towards the flight path and take a little pit stop at the Moonwell to fill the cleansing bowl you got from the Blackwood Corrupted. Then talk to the wanted poster outside the inn for the quest Wanted Murk Deep. And then lastly, talk to the dwarf on the shore just south of the inn for the quest Fruit of the Sea. Whew, alright, that's all the quests. Now it's time to go. Our first step is to run way northeast to the mountains east of Bashalaran. Keep an eye out for any herbs that offer you skill ups. We really want to be above 100 herbalism by the end of this cycle, so actively seek out Briarthorn, Bruiseweed, etc. Peacebloom and Silverleaf really aren't doing much for us anymore at this point. When we finally get along the mountains to the northeast, you'll start seeing Blackwood Firbolg camps just before you reach the river. What we want to do here is, in the westmost camp, clear to the barrel and loot a grain sample. The Firbolgs should be under level, and at this point you should have one of those nice two-handers, so make quick work of them and start leveling up your weapon skill. You should also familiarize yourself now with the hamstring method, utilizing a swing timer add-on to minimize incoming damage. The Firbolgs like to pop down healing wards, so swap to them and do some quick hamstrings to take them out. At this point you should be pretty much done with using Heroic Strike. It's a nasty rage jump that takes away the rage built from the swing that it's used on, and we've got enough abilities that we can find better uses for it, or we should be cleaving 2 targets down. But before focusing on the Firbolgs too much, once your weapon skill is decently high, make your way up this sneaky little path into the mountains, and find the cave with the Den Mother inside. If she's there, kill her by first clearing some of the little babies out and then finishing her off. If she's not there, go back to the Firbolg quest and finish them up, then come back to her and group up if anybody else is trying to kill her. Don't be shy about getting into a big group. Getting quest credit is more important. Next, we'll go to the eastmost Firbolg camp, and we'll clear to the 2 barrels here to loot the other 2 items we need for the Blackwood Corrupted, the nut sample and the fruit sample. Now, note here, while we're clearing these Firbolg camps, that our goal with this quest is to form these samples with the Moonwell jar in the middle of the east camp, and this will summon a demon we can kill, and then a lootable item will drop on the ground. It's important to know this because if somebody else has recently done this quest, the lootable item may still be sitting on the ground and you can loot it and skip all the other steps to this quest. If this happens, get the quest item to complete the quest and just destroy all the other summoning items that you've collected up until this point, as you don't need them. Otherwise, just clear cautiously around the camp and get all the fruit samples that you need, and then make sure you have enough room in the camp to fight the satyr when he spawns. Summon him by combining the items together with the Moonwell water. And then loot the item that drops on the ground and move on. The next thing we'll do is cross the river to the east and follow the trail alongside the river towards the Naga up the waterfall to the south. You'll notice now we're right back near those Moonstalkers for the Buzzbox quest that we skipped in one of the earlier parts. If you still hate yourself and haven't finished that Buzzbox quest we talked about first time we were here, you've got a second chance to do it, which I end up finishing finally this time around. But again, if anyone else is killing them, just skip this damn Buzzbox quest. When you get into the cave, we can use herbalism to find the mushrooms we need to complete the quest, Cave Mushrooms. The Naga here are fairly easy to double pull and cleave down, but you'll start encountering casters, and we only have Shield Bash to interrupt, and we're now using a two-hander. To deal with this, it's time for us to make our shield swap macro. This macro that I'm going to post is going to work in Classic regardless of what upgrades there are to the add-on API, but it requires your sword and shield to be in your first and second bag slot. And swapping weapons triggers the GCD, so you'll need to react very quickly to interrupt things. But do not be lazy and skip out on this macro. We won't get intercept till level 30 and pummel until level 38, and a lot of mobs have really nasty spells, so now's a good time to start practicing hitting the macro, interrupting with your shield, and then switching back to your two-hander. Another thing to note in this cave is that the wave riders do a knockback, so don't face yourself towards the edges. If the place is crowded, you may need to go a bit deeper into the cave to get the mushrooms you need, but don't skip this quest, it has a very important follow-up that we need. Once you get the mushrooms required, head on out and go northeast, killing moonstalkers on the way if you can. You should fairly quickly find the Tower of Alfalk in this area, just south of the main road if you head east, where you'll find the NPC to turn in the quest, and then grab the follow-up quest of the same name, which asks you to kill the nearby Darkstrand fanatics until you get 4 worn parchments. Now we out-leveled these and have a good weapon, but the main threat here is still the fleeing mechanic. So use what you know to get done with these guys quickly without getting yourself swarmed. The drop rate for the quest item is pretty high and there's quite a few mobs to kill, so overcrowding shouldn't slow you down here too much. And good news, we're almost out of the starting zone, so crowding should stop being an issue pretty soon if you've been following this guide at the server launch. Once you finish, turn in the quest at the same NPC for the follow-up quest, and then run straight north towards the shoreline. Murder more moonstalkers just out of spite, and keep following the shore north. Eventually, you'll find a little gnome on a mound named Gelkak. Accept the quest Gyromast's Retrieval, and then let's start by collecting the key parts. The first key fragment drops off of the Striders we'll find east, but mixed in with them northeast you'll find Moonstalker Matriarch and Sires. Now I don't do it in this guide because I'm bad, but it's a good idea to kill them for their pelts to complete the Lost Master now so we can do the follow-up on the next cycle. Because I don't get the pelts now, I do the pelts in the next cycle, I actually have to skip the follow-up. Decide based on how crowded the area is. I believe these Matriarchs and Sires can also drop the Moonstalker Fangs for the Buzzbox quest. So if there's not that many people here, it's definitely worth going out of your way to kill the cats while you're killing the Striders for the key part anyway. Either way, your priority is to get the key part, as we do not want to skip the Gyromast quest. We very badly need the follow-up quest's rewards if you are playing at a server's launch. The next key we're going to want for the Gyromaster's Retrieval quest is from the Murlocs, just west of the quest NPC in the water. You should find a ruined ship. Kill the Murlocs until you get the key. The last key fragment will drop off of the reef crawlers, the enraged ones, along the beach. We do need reef crawlers for the Fruit of the Sea quest, but not the raging ones. So if you're wondering why you're not getting the Fruit of the Sea quest item, it's because you're killing the wrong crabs. Just keep killing the enraged ones until you get the third key fragment, and then turn in the quest Gyromast's Retrieval to accept the follow-up Gyromast's Revenge. Now, Gyromast's Revenge is really the first hard quest I'm going to ask you to solo, and a big reason why you should take Piercing Howl at level 20. Once we talk to this mech as we follow the shore to find the mech that he wants us to find, insert the key and it will start following you up until we get back to the gnome NPC, then the machine will turn hostile. This is a level 20 elite, and there's different ways to deal with it. The easiest way, of course, is to just group up with someone, but if you're stuck here alone, it's time to separate the boys from the men. Now, the reason we really don't want to skip this quest is because it gives an underwater breathing potion, which will enable us to do about 8 quests at level 39. So we're really thinking ahead here. That's like 24 hours of leveling away. but we really want to make sure we have these underwater breathing potions at the start of a server launch, because it's unlikely that there's any other way to get these potions at the start of a server launch unless you're hanging out with a warlock with underwater breathing. But this is about independence. We want to do this by ourselves. So as a warrior, make sure your weapon skill is fully maxed out at this point, and build up your rage as much as possible, and make sure you have battle shout out before you get back to the gnome. Once you do get back to the gnome and the robot turns hostile, immediately use demoralizing shout and use retaliate and go ham on this guy. Use a food buff if you don't have one on you already, put scroll buffs on you, and be prepared to use a healing potion. If things are not going in your favor, you can try Hamstring or Piercing Howl to kite him, and use your wool bandages to fill up your HP as much as possible before you re-engage. Either way, with Retaliate and one of these two-handers from Deadmines, you should be able to solo him. If you are playing a squishy class like a mage or a priest, a good idea is to swim into the water once he goes aggressive to reset him, as he won't follow you in the water. Then circle around max range and open up on him with big nukes from a distance, and once he gets close, utilize CC like Entangle, Fear, Frost Nova, or use resets like Divine Shield. All in all, if you've got good Deadmines gear, you should be able to handle him by yourself and get your hands on those tasty underwater breathing potions that we will be saving. Once it's done, head along the shore until you start finding encrusted tide crawlers southwest. Start killing them for fine crab chunks to complete the quest Fruit of the Sea, and don't forget to save the clam meat for cooking. Keep opening the clams to save your bag space, and make your way a bit west towards the beach sea turtle to loot him as well for another free quest. And once you've got all of the Fruit of the Sea completed, you can hearth back to Aubertine unless you want to finish the Buzzbox quest and haven't done it yet. Once you get back to Aubertine, the Night Elf Alindia north in the inn will sell you spring water to start cooking the clam meat that you've collected. Use her to clear your bags a bit as well. Then, outside the inn, you can turn in the quest Cave Mushrooms and accept the follow-up quest Onu. Then go north across the bridge where you'll find the only cooking fire in Aubertine and cook any clam meat you got. Head then into the main building to turn in the quest Blackwood Corrupted. And afterwards head east across the bridge to turn in Thornarian's Hope. If you completed the Lost Master quest, turn that in as well and grab the follow-up, but I'm bad and I didn't do it on this run. And lastly, we'll head south of the inn along the shore to turn in the Fruit of the Sea.
What can I get for you today?
And then up towards the Flight Master to turn in the Beach Creature Bones. Make sure you've restocked, you've repaired, you've cleared your bags, and you're ready to rock. Then jump south along the shore, following it out of Aubertine. Now the first step on this journey south is an NPC hiding on the shore, a night elf named Helden Galesong with a fishing pole. Stop by him for a very helpful cooking recipe, clam chowder, that you should be able to learn or be close to learning. This will keep clam meat relevant for using your cooking skill. Then just continue along the shore south and basically just loot any sea creatures you encounter along the way. The Murlocs will be great and the quests themselves will be great too, but it still gives some experience, so it's worth nabbing, and also keep an eye out for Strangle Kelp.
I can't do that yet. Need more rage.
Eventually you'll arrive west of the Master's Glaive on the shore, and you should start seeing grizzled bears. From here, go east onto the land and start killing the grizzled bears if you have the Buzzbox quest, and kill Moonstalker matriarchs and sires if you need them for the Lost Master quest like I do. We'll be looping around this area quite a bit, so prioritize running east across the road for now, until you reach the Grove of the Ancients. At the Grove, turn in the quest Onu for the follow-up quest, the Master's Glaive, and take note there is a vendor here if you need to clear up your bags. Then put the quest item that he gives you, the Phial of Scrying, on your hotkey and run back southwest across the road and continue killing bears and moonstalkers as you need them. Now, there's a few quests we want to do here, and you may need to do them out of order, as they all rely on respawn timers. By now, you should be level 21, and if you aren't, you are a little bit behind and should grind a bit to catch up, just to be safe, as these next quests can be a little tricky to solo. You should group up for any and all of them if the chance arises. Start by going towards the dig site west of the Master's Glaive, Rem Travel's excavation. At the northern entrance to the dig site spawns Rem Travel. If he's dead or not there, skip this for now, but if he's up, do the escort as soon as you can. To kill time waiting for his respawn, I'm going to do this second objective here, which is the Murlocs. Directly west, we'll find another beached sea creature on the shore with level 17 Murlocs. They flee as always, so we'll make sure to hamstring them, kill them for lots of clam meat, and loot the creature's bones for the quests as well. Also keep note that these Murlocs drop Murloc fins. We will be needing these for a quest in Redridge soon, as they can have a pretty poor drop rate. It's worth saving them now if you get some. From here, we're going to go south into the water, where we'll find several more beached creatures surrounded by Murlocs. The further south we go, the higher levels the Murlocs get, so you'll need to start being cautious. But with our Deadmines weapon and cleave, we can easily handle pulls of 2 or 3. Just make sure to respect the fleeing mechanic and keep hamstringing them. Loot the turtle on the rocky island, then continue south for the next turtle on the tiny island. And be wary of the oracles, who function as healers and casters. They are tricky to pull away from the other Murlocs, so you'll likely end up fighting 2 at a time whenever you pull one, and make sure you've got your shield bash macro ready. Keep your HP up with first aid and you should be alright. The fourth creature, a Threshodon, hides on the southmost isle, and these Murlocs are pretty tightly packed, so again, just more of the same, pull carefully and you should be okay. And don't be shy about killing them in excess for their clam meat. Once you've got all 4 sea creatures, you can head back to Rem Travel to see if he's up and ready to be escorted, or make your way to dealing with Murk Deep. In my case, Rem Travel is up, so we will start by turning in the quest The Absent-Minded Prospector and begin the follow-up quest, The Escort, with the same name.
Well met. What's on your...
As you escort Rem Travel, he'll only fight if he is engaged on generally, so it's best to let him lead the charge. Try to clear out the golems and behemoths before he gets too far in, as he'll start triggering trogs to spawn in groups of 2. It's important to keep your HP up and your rage bar up as much as possible as you kill solo pulls, so that you have enough rage to cleave down double pulls. Use Shift plus a V to see Rem Travel's health bar and let him take a few hits for you if you're worried about fighting and tanking 2 trogs at once. Just don't let his HP dip too low. If it does, you can always switch to defensive stance and use taunt. Again, group if possible, but it's easily doable by yourself. The only really tricky part here is the final pull, where 3 trogs will spawn and one of them is a caster. Luckily, we have Intimidating Shout, so focus down the caster and use Fear on the other 2 if you are here by yourself. You can also possibly use Retaliate as well if it's up, but you should be alright. You may need to pop a potion. If you utilize Rem Travel's HP bar and make sure you don't let the caster cast and kill it first, you should be able to handle this quest by yourself. Once it's completed, follow Rem Travel back to the entrance of the dig site and get the quest completed mark, and our next stop is going to be Murk Deep. Make your way northwest back to the shore until you find 3 Murloc huts. Murk Deep appears here by triggering an event by killing the Murlocs around the 3 huts. This can be a bit tricky, but you should be alright by yourself. Again, if there's other people here, just group up and make it easier for everybody. The goal here is to just kill as many of the Murlocs around the huts as possible until the event is triggered, which will send 3 waves of Murlocs at you. All of the waves will spawn in the water just west of the huts. The first wave will be 3 level 13 coast runners, which you should be able to handle easily, but until they come, try to build up rage to make sure you are prepared and can easily cleave them down. They also have the fleeing mechanic, so don't let them flee into any Murlocs remaining at the 3 huts or you will very easily get swarmed. After the 3 coast runners, you'll get a wave of 2 Grey Mist warriors at level 15. Again, cleave them down, they should be way under your level. As long as you're keeping your HP up between the waves, you should be okay. And lastly, you'll get a wave of Murk Deep and a Grey Mist Hunter. You can use Intimidating Shout here and focus either of them down if you're hurting for HP. Use Hamstring Kited as needed, but this is easily doable by yourself. Once Murk Deep is dealt with, return in the direction of the Master's Glaive and try and finish up any Grizzled Bears for the Buzzbox quest or Moonstalker pelts you may still need for the Lost Master quests if you haven't completed them yet. Once you get to the Master's Glaive, we're going to be jumping down into the glaive and starting to kill the Twilight folks. We have 3 goals here. Firstly, the Twilight guys have a chance to drop a quest starting item, a book, The Powers Below. We want to kill them in excess until we get this quest starting item, as the quest gives a lot of XP. Secondly, clear to the center of the glaive around the altar. Once you've cleared around, use the Scrying Bowl quest item and talk to it to turn in the quest The Master's Glaive and take the follow-up The Twilight Camp. Then, talk to the northmost book of the camp and turn in the Twilight Camp and accept the follow-up Return to Onu. And lastly, on the southwest side of the glaive, we should find a Dryad named Therilune. If she's not there, just massacre Twilight cultists for the book until she respawns. Group up if needed and then start her escort quest. Her escort is pretty straightforward, and she's pretty capable all things considered. Just be aware of the fleeing mechanics of the Twilight cultists so you don't get overrun, and you should be fine at level 21 here.
I can't do that yet. That ability isn't ready yet. Not ready yet. I can't do that yet.
The escort completes once she reaches the top of the ramp, and at this point you should be done with all the quests here. If you haven't gotten the book yet, kill more cultists for it, unless you get incredibly unlucky or the place is being overfarmed. Either way, once done, finish up with the Grizzled Bears and Moonstalkers if you haven't yet.
That ability isn't ready.
The buzz box you need to turn it in can be found along the road just north of the Master's Glaive and should complete the god-awful quest chain. It's easy to spot by the little fences sticking out from the wilderness onto the road. Next, run back to the grove and turn in Return to Onu. Do not take the follow-up. Utilize the vendor here to clear your bags. They're probably stuffed now with a bunch of sea creature bones and quest items, so only keep what's valuable. And on the east end of the Master's Glaive, you'll find a druid bear named Colonia Evershade with a quest. Talk to her to get the quest The Sleeper Has Awakened. This is another escort quest. If she isn't there, she can take quite a bit of time to respawn as the escort's a bit long. And turn in the Lost Master's next quest in the Furbowl Cave to the south if you have that part, but of course I didn't do it correctly in this guide if she's not there. But if she is, just go ahead and start the quest and start the escort. And if she's taking too long to respawn and you can't get a group and there's a bunch of people waiting for her, you can just skip this, but I recommend not. It's another huge chunk of XP in the exact direction we want to go anyway, so it's smart to just take it. Once you've accepted the quest, make sure you loot the chest that is right beside her. Even if you do this quest in a party, you must have the horn from the chest to turn in the quest. So do not forget to loot it even if someone else loots it before you. The entire party needs to have the horn. Now this escort is extremely deadly if you are by yourself. The mobs that spawn will utterly destroy you, but we can avoid them completely. The mobs spawn on the road, so all we've got to do is stay as far as possible from the road as we escort Colonia south into Ashenvale. Just be aware that she randomly falls asleep and needs to be woken up by the horn from the chest. The deadliest mob pack that spawns is in Ashenvale, just outside the Maestra's outpost, but the border between Ashenvale and Darkshore is fairly narrow, so you may aggro the pack that spawns there. If it happens, manage her aggro and use Intimidating Shout and you should be able to keep her and yourself alive. But the pulls, all of them are pretty tricky by yourself. It's best to just avoid them if you can by hugging the mountains and navigating through the wilderness. The big bad pack you've got to dodge is just outside of the outpost, south into Ashenvale. So once you do get into Ashenvale, stray far east off the road, clear your way through the undead mobs at Bashran's Haunt, just to avoid the road as much as possible, and you should be able to make it solo to Maestra's post within the time limit with Colonia. If you mess up or have trouble with this, just skip this quest though and continue to Maestra's post. Once you reach the place, bring Colonia to the Night Elf sitting on the balcony of the lodge and turn in the quest The Sleeper Has Awakened. You can even turn it in from the outside. Then further into Maestra's post, you should find the turn in for the quest The Tower of Alfalk, accept the follow-up and also accept the quest Bathran's Hair from Aubertine nearby. Once you've got both, run north back to the ruins of Ordil Aran, where you'll find Dark Strand cultists. Now for this Tower of Alfalk's quest, we need a random drop that has a really low drop rate off of these cultists. There's not a huge amount of spawns. You can group for it, but if this place is too crowded, just skip this quest. The drop rate is too low to make it worth doing when there's competition. It can take upwards of 50 to sometimes 80 kills to get the quest item. Otherwise, you can just grind here on these cultists for a bit until you get the orb. Regardless of what you do though, the next stop is going to be north at Bathran's Haunt. Using Herbalism, you should be able to easily spot the quest items Bathran's Hair. But even without Herbalism, they're pretty easy to find. Clear the undead around Bathran's Haunt until you manage to get all the hair to complete the quest. If you skip the tower quest, don't skip this one, as it and its follow-up give huge chunks of experience. Once you're done with these quests up here, go back to Maestra's outpost and turn them both in. And accept the follow-up quest Aubertine's Cure, but do not accept the Tower of Alfalk's follow-up quest.
Greetings. The Alliance.
Now it's time to head south on the road further into Ashenvale. Just as the road begins to curve east, you should find a small path that breaks off west. Go down the western path and to the end of it until you find a dryad to turn in the quest Thurleun's Escape.
The great outdoors.
Then head back to the road and keep an eye out for herbs all along the way. Once you're back at the road, just follow it east until you reach Astronar. In Astronar, grab the flight path, then run to the east side, and in the eastmost house, turn in the quest Aubertine's Cure. Do not accept the follow-up. Continue east out of Astronar along the road until you get north of the lake. Then run south off the road towards the lake at Silverwind Refuge. Run inside Silverwind Refuge and on the western side of the lodge, talk to Chandrina to purchase the Expert Cookbook. You most likely won't be able to learn expert cooking yet, but keep this in your bags until you can. If you've been forced into skipping quests or grouping a lot and you are not close to level 22, you can also take the quest here, Elemental Bracers, from the refuge and do it in the lake, as it's fairly easy, but otherwise skip it and it's time to hearth back to Aubertine. Now the first thing in Aubertine is to turn in these ass loads of sea creature bones at the flight path to give your bag some breathing room.
Goddess bless you.
And turn in wanted Murk Deep outside the inn.
How may I help?
Turn in the absent-minded prospector across the northern bridge and grab the follow-up. And then go east across the bridge to turn in the lost master. If you're just now turning in the pelts like me, don't bother with the follow-up. And that's about it for Night Elf Land. By now you should be level 22, but luckily if you aren't, there's no urgency to be 22 quite yet, so just keep on keeping on. Our next stop is Darnassus, so go to the pier, and this time we're going to go on the northern side and wait for the boat to Darnassus. If you're a night elf, you can just fly there, but otherwise wait for the boat and ride it to Teldrassil. Once you arrive, run up to the purple glowy thing that teleports you up to the tree without any explanation how ever in any expansion in the last 15 years. You're just up there. Magic. Then go south towards the Temple of the Moon. But don't enter inside, instead run around the west and turn in the absent-minded prospector.
What can I do for
Grab
you?
the follow-up quest of the same name, and you can train here in Darnassus if you like, but we'll be stopping by Ironforge in a moment as well, and I find it easier to navigate Ironforge, so that's all we came to Darnassus to do. Head back to the mystical purple teleporter in western Darnassus, and once you get back down to the lower levels in Ruthurin village, head up the ramp to the southeast and grab the flight path, and then fly back to Aubertine. In Aubertine, do all that cooking, clearing bags, mailing your herbs if you haven't already. Go back out to the pier, and we're going to just instantly take the boat back to Menethil Harbor. Waiting for our boats, by the way, is a great time to make bandages and level your first aid. Once you get to Menethil Harbor, head into the tavern up to the second floor and turn in the quest The Absent-Minded Prospector. Just so the quest item doesn't take up bag space. Don't take the follow-up just yet, we'll be doing this quest later. A reminder, if you don't have a bronze tube yet, is to check the engineering vendor inside the large building of Menethil on the first floor. Then head back out of the inn to the flight master and fly to Ironforge.
Hey there. Safe travel.
In Ironforge, we're going to run quickly to the Forlorn Cavern, where we'll be able to turn in the quest The Powers Below that we got from that cool book for a nice easy 2000 experience.
Watch your back.
Then we'll do some training. You should be easily able to train your level 22 skills now. Train cooking, herbalism, and first aid all around the Flight Master if you need to. And once you've finished with all that jazz, you will be ready for the next part of this leveling guide. Talk to the Flight Master and fly to Red Ridge Mountains, Lakeshire. And by the time you land, you should be looking at the next part of this guide. 'Cause I am booping out.